Hello friend, welcome back to my seed growing room. You may have noticed that my grow shelves now have wheels. Josh was successful. He went and purchased me some casters to put on my shelves, and we weren't sure if they were gonna fit. He put them on last night and they fit like a glove. This is going to make this growing season so much easier when I am hardening off my crops, because I'll be able to wheel my entire shelves out into the outside and I won't have to carry one tray out at a time. And so this is going to be a game changer. He only bought enough for this one shelf because he wasn't sure if this was gonna work or not, and it worked. And so today we're gonna go pick up enough for the other two shelves that I have. Today is a big day. We are going to start some really exciting things. Today, we're gonna cold stratify a bunch of our crops that I'm gonna attempt to grow for 2024's garden. And this is something I have never done before. And I think it's a reason why I've had very poor germination on some of these crops, because it was something that I didn't fully grasp or understand. And I did a ton of research yesterday. And so I have a better understanding on how to start some of these crops we're gonna start. I also did a ton of garden planning last year. If you're new around here, I've never been a huge garden planner, but this year I have actually sat down and planned out my garden. Now, it's not 100% planned out, and this is not 100% of what I'm gonna do, and I might not totally stick to it, but I've got my goals written down, a rough outline of what I want to plant where. I am typically more of a gardener that I'm out in the garden and I feel where I want to put things, and that's how I tend to do my gardening. Well, this year I thought I'm going to go in with a plan and we'll see how well we stick to it. And I want to share with you all the seeds that I got this year for 2024's garden. I have 3 seed hauls here. I ordered seeds from 4 different companies, and I was gonna wait until all they came, but one of the companies in that crazy ice storm, they got lost in the mail, and they are now currently on their way to me, but it might be a week or so before they get here. So I'm gonna share with you what I got so far, and then over, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, Florette Seeds, she's a beautiful flower gardener, her seeds went on sale. So I ordered some seeds from her, but those won't be here for a month or so. So I thought first thing we would do is get this grow shelf in here, get my trays in here, and then we are going to get started on sharing with you. I'm gonna get started on sharing with you what seeds we got in the mail for 2024's garden. And look how awesome this is. So we still need to kind of organize that and figure out where exactly I'm gonna put all the shelves, but I won't know that until the other 2 shelves are in here. So I got seeds from Johnny Seeds and My Gardener and rareseeds.com. I'm gonna take a minute to organize these with like. Every year I go into garden season, I feel like a brand new gardener, and this is no exception. I definitely have a better understanding on some things, but the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And so I was going down researching specific varieties and how to start them. And so that's what we're gonna get into once I share with you all the plants or seeds that I got. These are not plants yet. The goal is to turn these seed packets into plants in the garden. But some of my major goals for the garden season this year is 1, to have fun, and 2, to grow a bunch of beauty. And so some things that I want to grow this year that I've never grown before are gourds, peanuts, soybeans, or edamame. I want to try growing wheat. I've seen a couple gardeners online grow wheat at home, and I think that would be fun. Do I think I could grow a year's worth of wheat? Absolutely not. So wheat is just something that I want to try growing and see if we can grow enough to maybe make 1 loaf of bread. I'm gonna attempt to grow a lot more vertical this year. I wanna maximize my vertical space. So pole beans, vining squash, vining flowers is something that I want to grow a lot of this year. Loofahs and sweet potatoes. So those are all kind of the new things that I want to attempt and my goals for 2024's garden. I also want entire beds that are dedicated to flowers. So I have 20 raised beds that are 16 by 4 feet, and I want at least 4 of those beds to be 100% cut flowers for nothing other than the beauty that it's going to bring to the garden and the joy that it's going to bring to my heart. So that's kind of the goal. My goal for crops that I want to grow enough to preserve are tomatoes, herbs, garlic, onions, dried beans, carrots, hot and sweet peppers. And then the rest of the things I want to grow, like cucumbers and green beans, I want to grow enough for fresh eating. Salad, spinach, kale, those types of things. I'm really trying to pare back and only preserve the things that when it comes to grabbing and cooking throughout the fall and winter, I'm really excited about. I don't want to have a pantry challenge. We just came off a month-long pantry challenge where I'm forcing myself to go through things that I'm not that excited about. If it's something that I prefer fresh eating throughout the garden season, I want to focus on that and not worry about putting up something that I'm not excited about eating. And so that is where I want my efforts to go into. And then there are definitely things that as they come out of the garden, I am more excited once I preserve them to eat them. And those are the types of things I want to focus on. Hot sauce, canned dried beans, I love those. Marinara sauce that are even better, I think, than when they come out of the garden fresh. And so my goal is to put my energy into growing the things we want to eat fresh throughout the growing season, and then only preserving up the things that we're excited about growing. One thing that you're going to see that is not on my list to grow this year is corn, because I've grown corn 3 years in a row. I've had a terrible time growing it, and I am just going to buy it from the local farm. I've got a great organic corn grower that I can buy my corn from. I'm going to let them grow that, and then I'm going to grow the things that I have done in the past relatively well at. Before we get into all the goodness that we're going to be doing today with seeds and all the good stuff, I wanted to share with you that Greenstock is having a buy one, get one 60% off sale. They haven't done a sale like this in over a year, and it's your lowest ticketed item in your cart. So if you want to get 2 of these planters, you can get one at 60% off. I have 4 currently. I have 2 of the original and 2 of the leaf. I have 2 more in the mail coming. I have big plans for my green stocks. The sale is going from February 14th, so Valentine's Day, until February 21st. So I will link them down below if you want to get your green stocks now so that we can plan and plant out in them this coming spring. I have huge plans for these green stalks, and I cannot wait to start filling these with some beautiful, beautiful plants. So let's get into the haul. So first, I said I wanted to attempt to grow soybeans or edamame, steamed. That's a great side I've never attempted. And a new thing for me are peanuts. So this is one of the 2 varieties I purchased. This is just for fun. We're gonna see if we can make our own homemade peanut butter. So that's gonna be an experiment you and I are gonna go on this growing season. How cool is that? And then we've got 3 pole bean varieties that are that can be a dried bean. So this is an heirloom Sunset Runner pole, and look how beautiful those are. They're kind of like a pinto black bean cross. I've never grown those before. This is Cherokee black bean pole. I grow black beans successfully that are bush bean variety, but I want to maximize my vertical space. So we're going to attempt to grow dried black beans that are a pole variety. And then this variety I have grown before. This is a rattlesnake pole bean, and I have grown them for green beans. But when I was researching pole bean, dried bean varieties, this one kept coming up. It was very successful when I grew it in the past, very prolific. And it's like a pinto bean once it dries. I don't know why I get so much enjoyment out of growing dried beans. I love it. It is so enjoyable to me. And so I'm excited about having these 3 heirloom variety pole beans that I'm gonna grow vertically and attempt to try to grow a year's worth of beans for Josh and I. Another thing that brings me a lot of enjoyment in the garden is growing winter squash and pumpkins. So this is Waltman butternut squash. I've never grown this before, and I saw it and I had to get it. It looks like it grows to be a pretty big butternut squash, so I think it's going to be good for using as a pumpkin substitute. A lot of times pumpkins are, when you grow actual pumpkins for pumpkin, they're kind of watery, and so I was thinking that this could be a good winter squash pumpkin variety that would be good for actually preserving. You're gonna see I ordered a ton of different pumpkins, but a lot of the pumpkins I wanna grow this year are not gonna be for eating. They're gonna be for just the pure enjoyment of growing all these fun, crazy pumpkins and decorating in the fall. I do want to grow a year's worth of basil. I am already out of the basil I preserved up last year. I love Thai basil and just a classic Genovese basil. I'm gonna try to grow some cabbage again this year. My cabbage has done okay. The first year I ever had a garden, my cabbage did fantastic. Ever since then, it's done okay. So I did need to get some more cabbage seeds. I've never had success growing Brussels sprouts, so we're gonna attempt that again this year. I grew these carrots last year, the Royal Chantney carrots, and they are extremely sweet and they were very prolific. I got over 45 pounds, I think, of this variety of carrot. And then you're gonna see I didn't buy a ton of tomatoes this year, but this is my favorite tomato for fresh eating, the pineapple tomato. I am gonna be paring back on the amount of tomatoes I grow this coming year. I wanna focus on varieties and paring back how many I'm gonna grow on the ones that I absolutely love, and I know that I love eating them fresh. And then I want to grow just a few of those, and then I'm gonna grow a whole lot of Roma tomatoes. We don't enjoy eating those necessarily fresh, like a pineapple heirloom, delicious. I mean, the Roma tomatoes I'm growing are heirlooms, but when you think of like a summer tomato that you wanna eat on a BLT, this is the type of tomato you're thinking of. They are huge and dense and not watery. I'm not gonna be growing very many, I don't think any just red round tomatoes, because they don't have a lot of flavor. They're kind of watery, and I end up just putting those in sauce. And when it comes to my marinara sauce, my pizza sauce, and my just plain crushed tomatoes and diced tomatoes, all I'm gonna be using for that are Roma tomatoes. I have done for many years where I use all the heirloom varieties, and last year I made a bunch of sauce just using Roma, and I felt like the quality and texture and flavor is far superior when I use just a paste tomato. So that's gonna be my goal for 2024. All my saucing tomatoes are going to be paste tomatoes, which makes sense because that's what they were bred for, and that's kind of what they're bred for. Coming down from there, tomatillos are a staple in my garden. That's another thing I will grow or attempt to grow a year's worth of. I only had 4 plants last year, and I'm probably gonna end up growing about 6 plants this year. Now, these are 2 new herbs I have never grown before, and we're gonna attempt tarragon. I've actually never eaten tarragon before that I've cooked with, maybe in a restaurant or something, but I see all these really yummy, like braised chicken dishes with tarragon, and so I wanna try growing that. Lemongrass, also, I've never grown that, and I would love to attempt to grow that. And then we've got some beautiful flowers, just some sunflowers. These were some free seeds. This is just some salad green mix that we'll definitely plant. And then here are some bell peppers and some shishito peppers. Sweet peppers and hot peppers are something that I do want to try to grow a year's worth. One of my favorite things that I grow and make out of the garden is hot sauce. I love hot sauce, and I need to make more of it. I didn't make enough of it last year, and so hot sauce is something on the list. I also really enjoy peppers that have been frozen and in the freezer. We're actually gonna make a crock pot meal tonight. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna use peppers from last year's garden in tonight's dinner. And it's actually gonna be all the vegetables for tonight's dinner are gonna be from the garden. And peppers freeze beautifully and they cook up really nicely. And so that is something I wanna focus on and is going to be a goal of mine going into 2024's garden. I've never had the best luck growing peppers. And so that's something I wanna get better at in 2024. That concludes my M.I. Gardener haul. I do have a discount code and a link for him down below if you're interested in his seeds. I do typically start with M.I. Gardener because they are the most affordable per seed packet, but there's a couple things that I can't get from him. He does not sell pelleted seeds, so that's why I order some seeds from Johnny Seeds. I have my pelleted carrot seeds. These are Bolero carrots, and I grow these every year. I love them. And so then I went ahead and I placed a Johnny Seed order and a rareseeds.com order because they have varieties and different colors of things that I can't get from M.I. Gardner. It's great ordering from a variety of companies because they all have their strengths. Botanical Interest is the other company that I ordered seeds from, and that's the one that's not here. I have a ton of my flowers that are in that order, but I also have a ton of flowers and beautiful things in these orders as well. So let's get into the rareseeds.com packets because these are just absolutely beautiful. That's one thing that rareseeds.com does really, really well is they take fantastic photos. And I love Johnny Seeds, but one downside about them is they don't have pictures on their seed packets. And it's because they gear towards growing or selling to farmers. And so that's why they don't worry as much about the beautiful pictures because they sell a lot to farmers. But you can get seeds in bulk from Johnny Seeds, which is awesome because sometimes like my snow peas, my Oregon snow peas, I didn't want to just buy a bunch of small packets. I wanted to get a big bag of 250 seeds, and it's a better price to get it in bulk, and you can get that through Johnny Seeds. So let me lay out my rareseeds.com seed packets. First, I have my winter squash, and these are some varieties I have planted before, some I haven't. I have grown Jack B. Little pumpkins and these Chinese miniature white pumpkins. I like to decorate in the fall with these, so I want to grow a lot more of these. Now, this is something I have never, ever, ever grown before, and it's a green pumpkin. And this, I think, is going to be mostly for decorating. But then maybe not, because I just read the back of the seed packet and it says this is a large, deep blue green pumpkin, and it has a yellow-orange flesh that is sweet and excels in pies and baked goods. So maybe we will attempt eating this pumpkin, but I kind of bought it just because it was fun, and I thought it would go well on the front porch of my front porch this fall. Now this is the next pumpkin I got. Now I bought this pumpkin because this is the variety of pumpkin that you get pepitas from, or pumpkin seeds. This is a whole-less. It says a popular naked seed pumpkin produces seeds without a hard shell and is a good snack. So when you think of pumpkin seeds that you purchase at the grocery store to say put on salads or trail mix or things like that, this is the variety of pumpkin because it doesn't have that white, hard outer shell. So I thought, how fun would this be to grow this, not for the flesh necessarily, maybe the flesh is good too. It doesn't say whether the flesh is good or not, but I'm growing this for the seeds for roasting because I personally don't love roasted pumpkin seeds when they have that hard white shell on them, and that's why I always give them to the chickens. You see, I've never roasted pumpkin seeds with you because they're just too chewy for me. So this we're growing for the seeds to eat. I'm pretty excited about it. Jardel pumpkin, one of my favorite pumpkins. I like this not only because I think it's beautiful, but because this produces a very dense meated pumpkin that makes perfect pumpkin puree for pies and cakes and breads and pumpkin curry and all those types of things. And then I got these two varieties of pumpkins. Mostly this one is 100% for decorating. I love white pumpkins. I like that these ones are flat. I thought I grew these last year, but what I thought I was growing were white flat pumpkins was actually a white zucchini. And so I didn't get any of this type of pumpkin last year, and so I wanted to make sure I ordered this. This says a historically popular pumpkin in South Africa, very sweet orange flesh, perfect for pies and baking, and it's beautiful, and it can grow up to 30 pounds. So this is gonna be fun. And then this is a pumpkin that kind of looks like a Cinderella pumpkin, and I'm not sure why I bought this one, maybe just to try a different variety. It says an old French heirloom. Oh, this is a Cinderella pumpkin, AKA Cinderella pumpkin. Beautiful, flattened, ribbed, large fruit with gorgeous deep orange color. That is hilarious because I was considering not growing Cinderella pumpkins this year, even though they are so prolific. And honestly, I've had the best success growing these pumpkins. But the flesh is not my favorite for eating, but I'm gonna be growing other pumpkins for the flesh. So I should probably have these in my garden. One, just to help guarantee myself a pumpkin harvest, because out of all the pumpkins I have ever grown, I've always gotten the most prolific pumpkins out of this variety of pumpkin. I didn't know what the fancy French name for this was. I've always called it a Cinderella pumpkin. So that is the winter squash. Now let's talk about the peppers. I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. I've got hot and sweet peppers here. My big goal is to grow more sweet peppers this year. So these top 4 are sweet peppers. I don't know how to pronounce that. I just saw that and thought they looked good. They're supposed to be good roasted. Banana peppers are pretty classic. I want to jar these up. I did not jar enough peppers like this, pickled like you would get banana peppers for sandwiches and things. The yellow monster is a sweet bell pepper, and I bought this because this is what Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead grows every year, and she has beautiful peppers. So I went ahead and decided I'm going to attempt to grow those. And then as Svarsky, these are a sweet pepper. I've had okay success. I'm going to try again this year with those. Here are some very, 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 very hot peppers. This one's probably the most mild out of these 5 here. This one I think is beautiful. I want to grow a lot for hot sauce. My hot sauce last year was kind of hot, and I want it hot, hot. So I'm going to grow a lot more hot pepper varieties. And this one, I don't know how to pronounce that, but the Holler Homestead grows this one, and so I wanted to try growing that one, and it was extremely prolific for them, and so that is why I purchased those seeds. And then the other ones were just kind of, I saw them and I bought them. And then I am going to grow poblano peppers, and then probably just, like a bell pepper, a sweet bell pepper. So some other fun things. So that's the peppers. Some other fun things that I'm going to attempt to grow this year that I've never grown before. Oh, here we go. I missed a couple of my winter squash. So I grew this candy roaster pumpkin last year. It was probably my favorite once it roasted up. So I wanted to get some more seeds of that. And then this one, I bought this because I think this gets huge, and it's kind of like a Hubbard squash. So I got that. But these are the 2 things that are kind of fun this year that I want to grow. I want to try growing birdhouses. And so these are gourds, so you don't eat these, you dry them out and you make birdhouses out of them. So I want to grow these on a trellis if I can. The last few things I got. Cherokee Purple is a tomato I've never grown before, and I've heard it's a lot of people's favorite variety, so I'm going to attempt growing that this year. Dr. Witchy's Yellow is kind of like the pineapple one. It's a big, dense, really good fresh eating tomato. I love that. I needed more seeds. This is Josh's absolute favorite tomato, and I forgot to grow it in the garden last year. The first time I grew it, I had purchased a start, and I never had the seeds for it, so I didn't start it last year. And this is the chocolate pear cherry tomato. And then I've never grown any of the Oxheart tomato varieties, and I've heard good things about them. So I did want to try to grow the Hungarian heart tomato. I've never grown anything like this one before. I did not buy any Roma tomato seeds this year because I have enough of those and I don't need any of those. So that is my tomatoes that I got for this year. One of the things I'm the most excited about this year are growing more flowers. So petunias are something that I've never, well, that's not true. I attempted to grow them last year and they did terrible. So we're gonna attempt again to grow them this year from seed. I've bought in starts and they've done fantastic. They're one of my favorite flowers, so I'm gonna try growing those again this year. And then I bought this because I thought that this flower would be beautiful in my green stock. So that is one for that. Again, snapdragons are one of my favorite flowers. We're gonna be growing a ton of those. I want 2 entire raised beds just filled with snapdragons. I don't know if I told you that or not. Snapdragons and zinnias are gonna be everywhere in the garden. Some orange marigolds. And then this is a yellow drumstick. This is a filler flower. I wanna make a lot of bouquets out of the garden this year, so I bought that. We're gonna try growing that. I wanna put some of these in one of my green stalks, some pansies. So we're gonna start some of those, and then one of my absolute favorite flowers of all time is Rudbeckia. And this is the Sahara variety, and we're gonna be cold stratifying this today. Cold stratification is something that I did not fully understand, and I have gotten my Rebecca to germinate, but it's always germinated extremely poorly because I think I have skipped the cold stratification step. So I'm gonna set this aside because we're gonna do that in just a minute after I go over these next flowers and seeds. I'm gonna go over these relatively quickly, and I will make sure that I put pictures up here for you so you can see what they are, because it's not very fun just looking at a blank seed packet. The first 3 seeds that I got from Johnny Seeds are my onion seeds. I got Walla Walla, Patterson, and Red Wing. Walla Walla onions are a great sweet onion. I've had honestly the best luck growing them to a good bulb size, but they're not a storage onion variety. So once they grow, they only last for a month or so after they're harvested, and then they need to be preserved or they will go bad. The other 2 varieties that I got were the Patterson and Red Wing. That's a yellow onion and a red onion, and those are good storage onions. So my goal is to try to grow those if I can get them to a good size, cure them, and store them fresh. My goal is to try to grow all my onions from seed this year, and this is going to be one of the first things I'm going to be starting in 2024. Next week, I will be starting those seeds. The next 3 seeds I got are eucalyptus, and I got baby blue, bookleaf mattel, I'm probably not saying that correctly, and silver dollar eucalyptus. I love growing eucalyptus, and mine just died from last year. It held on for a long time, and then we had a week of ice, and in warm climates, it is a perennial and it'll come back year after year, but we just got too cold, it died. It makes a beautiful filler flower. It makes a beautiful aroma in the garden and in your home when you bring it into your home. And so I want to grow these. I thought that they were a very hard crop to grow, but I had good success and they seemed relatively easy, so we're gonna attempt to grow them again this year. And not just one variety, we've got 3 varieties. And those are gonna be started here in the next couple days. These next 2 flowers are Status, and it's Forever Silver and Apricot Beauty. These are a flower that dry beautifully. They're relatively easy to grow, and I want to put these in my garlic braids when I harvest my soft neck garlic and I braid them so that I can have really beautiful garlic. From there, we've got more Snapdragon varieties. Again, Snapdragons are my absolute new favorite flower. And we've got Maiden Butterfly Red, Madame Butterfly Pink, and Ponomac Berry Blend. So this is a bunch of different colors in here. Now, if I ever pronounce something incorrectly, I'm extremely dyslexic, so I do apologize. That is why, I might be not reading these names perfectly correctly. Now over here, we've got a marigold. This is a lime green marigold, which I thought sounded really unique and I think is going to be beautiful. I've had relatively good success growing marigolds, so we're going to try growing those again this year. And then here I have 2 Rebecca. It looks like I got the Sahara one, which I already got through rareseeds.com. That happens sometimes when I'm shopping. I don't realize I already purchased it from another company. So we will go ahead and get these cold stratified today. And then I got another Rebecca, and I thought that this one was just absolutely beautiful. So we're going to attempt to grow these. Now, the one thing I love about Rebecca, but I have not seen it come to fruition yet, is that they are a perennial and they will come back year after year. But I have yet to see that because last year, in 2022's garden, I planted them out in my garden for the first time, and then obviously we moved. So I don't know if they came back or not. And I planted them out. I have 2 of them out in this garden, but I have yet to see if they survived the winter, to see if they're gonna come back or not. But they are one of my favorite flowers. I think they're beautiful, so we're gonna grow those again this year. And I love the idea of perennials because I don't have to plant them every year. And, oh gosh. Oh, I wonder if these are the same. This is oh my goodness, okay, I did this wrong. This is a hybrid cantaloupe, Sahara choice. This is my Rebecca. Okay, so this is this flower, And this is a cantaloupe. I bought cantaloupe because I want to attempt to grow cantaloupe. So this is one thing that can be kind of confusing a little bit sometimes about Johnny's seed packets. So there's a cantaloupe that I got. So I will show you what that cantaloupe looks like. And then here, this is another thing we're going to be starting to cold stratify today is this echinacea. This one was beautiful and I wanted to get some more perennials. Echinacea is a perennial, so I want to get that in my garden. And then this poppy, I've never had good luck growing poppies before, and we're going to cold stratify that, and that's probably why I've had poor luck with growing poppies. This is a Champagne Bubbles White hybrid poppy. Some other things I got are some snow peas and spinach, and I got a zucchini, which is just a typical zucchini. And then one other thing that I need to find in here, it is, I know I bought it. Where is it? Did I already put it up? No. It is called, right here, this is called Maximilian Sunset. We are going to cold stratify this today, and this is a perennial sunflower. Crazy. Maximilian sunflower perennial. So you plant it once and it comes back year after year. So that is something that needs to cold stratify too. And then I got celeriac, and we're going to be starting that very soon as well, but not today. That is 3 out of the 4, actually technically now 5 companies that I ordered seeds from. So I'm excited about this year's garden. I probably went a little crazy on the seeds, but it's that I want to grow a bunch of different varieties of the same thing. So I want to grow a bunch of colors of snapdragons. I want to grow a bunch of colors of Rebecca. And I want to grow some new things. I want to have fun in the garden. Now what I need to do is organize all these seeds. One thing I did yesterday that I spent, oh gosh, probably 2.5 or 3 hours is I went and I figured out when I needed to start everything inside, the things that I need to start indoors, and I figured out the dates when I need to plant things outside. I mentioned this to you earlier that every year I feel like a new gardener, and that is absolutely true. I felt like I had no idea when I needed to be starting things. This homestead is a lot colder and my growing season is shorter than my last homestead. And so I spent a long time figuring out when I needed to start things. I did a bunch of research on some of the new varieties that I want to start this year, some of the things like the sweet potatoes and the soybeans and the peanuts and some of the flowers that we're going to get to in a minute with the cold stratification and understanding that process and realizing that some seed varieties require light and other varieties need to be in dark to germinate. Some things that I had no concept and understood that needed to happen in order to have better success. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And so that's what was researching. So I feel a lot more confident after going through and figuring out when I need to start things indoors, when I'm going to be transplanting them outdoors, and when I'm going to be direct sowing things into the ground. Say taking a seed and putting it into the ground. A lot of things I'm going to be direct sowing into the ground. It is nice if you can save yourself a step and direct sow. So things like all my dried beans, I'm going to be direct sowing directly into the ground, and they go in this box. The peanuts the peanuts I'm starting indoors. The soybeans I'm going to direct sow. So I'm going to go through and just start putting my seeds away. Some things you can't direct sow, or you can, but my growing season isn't long enough for them to produce seed or fruit. For example, it takes too much time for a pepper plant to grow before it can bear fruit, that if I was to take a pepper seed and put it in the ground, by the time the fall and winter comes, it's not going to produce anything for me. And so that's why some things need to be started indoors so that you can actually get a harvest off of them. Okay, this is very, very full. So I'm going to take a minute and organize these. A little grow room update. So we had spent we spent a week together basically in this grow room, painting the walls, painting the trim, and painting the doors. And I had talked about possibly
replacing these floors. And yesterday, I'm so excited to announce that we had someone come and measure the flooring so that we can possibly get some new flooring in this grow room in the next 3 weeks to a month. It just depends on when we actually pick the flooring out, how long it's going to take for it to be shipped, and then once we've got the flooring, how long until we can get someone to come and replace the floor. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to go ahead and just be more practical for this space. This floor is some carpet that was left over from the previous owner, and it's not super practical to have carpet in an area where there's going to be a lot of dirt and water and coming in and out a lot. So that is something that I am super excited that hopefully we'll be able to do relatively in the near future. And then one of my goals, I think this would be so incredibly fun, is if we can get enough peanuts and roast them and turn that into peanut butter, we could use that and use some homemade jelly and maybe make a homemade loaf of bread and make a homemade peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's one of my goals this year. I just think that would be so fun. Now, do I have any expectations that every time I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it needs to be with homemade bread and jelly and peanut butter? Absolutely not. But to be able to accomplish that once in my life, I think that would be pretty incredible. So one of my goals now, I just thought of that as I was, thinking of these peanut seeds and the possibility of growing peanut butter, or not growing peanut butter, but growing peanuts to turn into peanut butter. How fun would that be? I love kind of pushing myself to try to make things from scratch. But just because I've learned how to do it doesn't mean that I want to do it every single time I have that item. There's something super empowering about just knowing I could if I want to. I love making homemade tortillas, but probably 90% of the time we have tortillas, they're store-bought. But there is something really empowering about knowing at any point in time, as long as I have the ingredients, I can throw together some homemade tortillas. And so that's why I like to learn how to make things from scratch, just because it feels empowering to me and it's just fun and enjoyable. And one reason why I like to grow things, I could go to the grocery store and buy the majority of these things that I'm going to be growing, maybe not the specific varieties, but there's something super fun and empowering about seeing your hard work turn into something really incredibly beautiful to look at or incredibly tasty to eat. So I'm just getting these seeds organized, and then we're going to talk about more seeds.
What I've been doing as I've been organizing my seeds is I've been looking at the seed packets on the varieties that I didn't look up last night to figure out when I need to start these indoors. So tarragon and lemongrass are two things I did not look up last night, and I want to grow these. And I went to Excel, which is not like me, and I put in there a bunch of information that is going to make it so much easier for me to move into this garden season. So I went through and looked up a ton of the varieties of things I want to plant. Now, not each, like Rebecca, I just put Rebecca, even though I'm going to be starting 3 or 4 different colors or varieties of it, I just picked Rebecca and things like that. And I put my crops here, whether that's flowers or vegetables. And then I found what is supposed to be my last frost date. My last frost date is supposed to be April 20th. I don't really trust that, so I'm planning on planting out my warm weather crops around probably April 30th, just to be safe. And I looked up when I needed to start these crops indoors. I need to start these crops right here indoors 8 to 10 weeks before our last frost. So I just put into Google what is 8 weeks before April 20th, and that gave me February 10th through the 24th. I put if it needs light to germinate. That's one thing I didn't know, that some seeds need light to germinate. I put if we need to cold stratify. That's what we're going to be doing today once I get all the seeds organized, or if they didn't need to be cold stratified. That's something I didn't know or understand until this year. And then I put when to transplant my starts outside. I am not someone who normally enjoys getting into Excel. Did I enjoy this process? Not really. But what I am excited about is I feel way less stressed going into when I should be starting things, because this tells me, it tells me that between February 24th and March 9th, doesn't have to be an exact day, just somewhere in there, I'm gonna start the flowers, straw flower, status, and then my vegetables, I'm gonna start tomatoes, tomatillos, basil, and parsley. Between March 30th and March 23rd, so March 23rd to March 30th, I'm gonna start my zinnias and peanuts inside. Between March 30th and April 6th, I'm gonna start my sunflowers, cucumbers, and melons inside. So this is for where I live. So for you, it's gonna be different. So you need to find your last frost date and work backwards on when you wanna be starting things indoors. So I did that for what I'm gonna be starting indoors. That's this first sheet. And then what I'm gonna be direct sowing. The things I'm gonna be direct sowing into the ground are dill, spinach, sweet peas, which are a flower. That's something new to me that did not come in the seed order. I ordered all my sweet peas from Botanical Interest. And my sugar snap peas. Lettuce, radish, beans, both green beans and dried beans, soybeans and wheat, and my sweet potato slips and my potatoes are all gonna be direct sown into the ground. I'm not gonna start those indoors at all. So all that to say, when I have found these two things, I didn't know, I forgot that I wanted to start these yesterday when I was researching. So what I've done is now that I have this printed out, all I'm gonna do is look on the back of the seed packet. Lemongrass says that it needs to be started indoors 4 weeks before my last frost. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here, and I do have a section for 3 to 4 weeks starting indoors before my last frost. I'm gonna go ahead and just hand write in lemongrass. I'm gonna do this for anything I find that I forgot to put on here. And now I know I'm gonna start lemongrass when I start my zinnias and my peanuts indoors. And now I'm gonna look at my tarragon, and it says the tarragon needs to start 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost. And I have right here, this is the section where I'm gonna be starting things 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost. So I'm gonna go ahead and write in tarragon. And I'll probably go in to the computer and retype this up so that it looks nice, because I want to really keep track this year of when I start things. I not only want to keep a video record of when I do things, but I'm going to keep a written record, because this is really easy to glance at for future reference to see, oh gosh, I started my tomatoes too soon. I had to keep them inside too long. They were getting too big and hard to deal with. Next year, I should start them a week or two later. So that's why I am keeping track of my garden plan in written form this year, just so that it's easier for future years and I don't have to go through all of this work figuring out my dates, and then I can just adjust according as needed. Now, everything's always a little different. You never know if you're gonna have a cold snap late in the season or if it's gonna get exceptionally warm really early, but that's just gardening. We work with a lot of just averages and go from there. It's kind of the fun that can, and the stress that can come along with gardening. So I think we're almost ready. I still have to find my basil. I know I have one just for basil because I tend to grow a lot of basil, and I have a lot of different basil varieties, but I don't see it, which is weird. Maybe it's this one that's not marked. Nope. Did I say I was gonna grow loofahs this year? I'm gonna grow loofahs this year. This is another one I didn't put on my list of when I should start, and this one says I should start 6 to 8 weeks indoors, and so I'm gonna add that on here. So I'm definitely gonna retype this up. Everything is now organized. I feel so good going into this growing season. I'm gonna put all of these beautiful seeds away. I kept some out because those ones up there are the ones we're gonna be starting first. And so I figured I might as well keep those out and not put them away and then just grab them out next time we're out here starting seeds. And these are the seeds we're gonna be dealing with right now. I need to go inside and grab a couple things so that we can cold stratify them. Let me show you what I've got up here, which are my onions, petunias, aster, eucalyptus, celery, celeriac. This is a kind of like a root vegetable that is delicious, and I've had a terrible time growing it, but we're gonna try again this year. Pansies, snapdragons, and stock. Now what I could have started today probably if I had already cold stratified them is echinacea, rudbeckia, perennial sunflower, and poppies, but I have not cold stratified them, so we're gonna do that before we actually start them. On my list here, I put the things that need cold stratified. Oh, see, I missed one, aster. So echinacea, aster, rudbeckia, poppy, and perennial sunflower. So my asters are here. We're gonna put that there. So we've got 5 varieties we need to cold stratify. Now, what does cold stratification mean, and what are we doing, and why are we doing it? Cold stratification is when seeds need to go through a cold period that mimics winter. A lot of these seeds we're going to be starting are perennials, meaning they live year for year for year out in the garden, and their seed needs to go through a cold period in order to tell it that it's spring and it's ready to grow. And if you don't do that, then I don't know the genetics or the makeup of the seeds, but then the seed won't tell itself sprout. Now, I've had some luck, but very poor luck, if you've watched in the past, growing some of these seeds and only getting 1 or 2 of the seeds to germinate, and I maybe have planted 20 or 30 or 40. And my biggest guess is because I did not cold stratify them. I looked up multiple different ways on how to do this. I text some of my garden friends who have major garden experience and what they do and their technique, and everyone has a different way to do it. There's a million different ways to do it. You can just take the seed packets and put them in the refrigerator and not actually do anything to the seeds themselves. I found ways to do it where you mix your seed in sand and you put the sand in the refrigerator. And this has been my biggest question. What should I do? Should I plant them in soil and put them in the refrigerator, but then I have a bunch of soil in my refrigerator? Should I use the paper towel method? So that's a method too, where you put the seeds on a paper towel, you get the paper towel moist, you put the paper towel in a Ziploc bag, you put that in the refrigerator, and even right now as I'm talking to you, I don't know what I'm going to do. What seems like the easiest way would be just to take my seed packets like this and pop these in the refrigerator for up to 4 weeks. You're supposed to do this for up to 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know. Let me think about it some more. I had a plan going into here today, and then now I'm questioning my plan. After much contemplation and time sitting here thinking pros and cons and having a little bit of analysis of paralysis, because there's so many different options, I want to try to keep this as simple and straightforward as possible. I don't think I want to put soil into my refrigerator because I just don't. I could put it in my garage fridge, which doesn't really have much in it right now, but I don't think I want to do that. I think what I'm going to do is the paper towel method, where I'm going to take a paper towel, just like so. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to first write on my bag what it is, because I will obviously not remember. I'm not only going to write the variety, say like snapdragon. I'm going to write the color. This is the perennial sunflower. And let's see, maybe I only need one. Well, this says on this packet, germination 21% plus 60% are dormant. I don't know what that means. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put this whole seed packet on here, even though that's probably way more than I need, or maybe I should just do half. There's 50 seeds in here. I've got a spray bottle with just water. Maybe I'll do half. I won't do all of them. Maybe not even half. I'm just going to do that many, which is, well, because it says, I don't know what the 21% means. We're going to go like that. Now, the seeds are not supposed to germinate. This is just supposed to mimic them sitting outside in cold temperatures. They're just supposed to cold stratify. This is gonna take up less space in my refrigerator. That was one thing I was thinking too, is I could have a lot of these bags relatively easily, taking up very, very little space. Aster, I had very poor success growing these last year, so we are going to attempt to grow them again this year. I don't even think I got any to germinate, so I'm gonna put Aster, Rose. So those seeds are pretty small. So there's Aster Rose. Should probably spray it first, just a little bit, before I sprinkle the seeds so they don't fly everywhere. Okay. I don't think you want it sopping wet, you just want it damp. It's violet. The next thing we are going to cold stratify is the echinacea, and I planted probably about 20 of these last year and 20 of these last year, and I only got one of these to germinate. None of the super germinated, and I think this is our problem. So these are the 3 echinacea varieties. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now these are a perennial in my area, and I just think they are so pretty. And these are definitely perennials in my area, so if I can get them to grow, they will come back year after year. They usually don't bloom until their second year. I think what I'm gonna do first is actually write the names of each of these down on my baggies before I start putting the seeds in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get that done first. But the green twist, these ones I started last year, I did get some to sprout, I put them in the garden, and they bloomed last year, which is crazy because my first year gardening, I started just the traditional purple ones or pink ones. They're also called coneflower, echinacea, coneflower, same thing. They took 2 years to germinate, 2 years to bloom. And so the year we left our homestead was the first year I got to see them. But this one is my absolute favorite, and I have never gotten it to germinate. So I'm hoping this is the key. If I start too many seeds and I have too many seedlings that actually grow into something, what I'm gonna do is just gift them to people. I don't think I'm gonna start this one because in this seed packet, I have purple and white coneflower, and this is just purple. So I'm gonna put this one back. So we have 4 different varieties of coneflower, 5 technically, because there's 2 in here. And I shouldn't tear the tops off. I should do it like this so I can reclose them. Now that's one thing that on the back of these seed packets, it does not say to do this. So that's why I've never done it before, because I was just following what the back of the seed packet said. So I'm putting about half those in there. Now we're on to the next variety of thing, and this is one of my all-time favorites, and that is Rudbeckia. And the only one I have growing right now in my garden is this one. This is the cherry brandy, and it is beautiful. This with white snapdragons and, what is it? Eucalyptus, so pretty. And I want to get a bunch of the other varieties. Cherokee Sunset, I didn't have any of these germinate last year. The Sahara ones are stunning. And so we're going to try to get these to bloom. And then just the traditional, these are black-eyed Susans, or it's just a variety of Rudbeckia. I want to get a bunch of these not only in my garden, but I want them in my landscape garden too. That's what I'm planning to do a lot of these flowers with. So we've got, and then there's this one, the Rudbeckia triloba. The Rudbeckia triloba. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 varieties of Rudbeckia. So I need to go grab 4 more of these bags. Got my 5 baggies. I now have my 5 varieties cold, or not cold stratified yet, but ready for cold stratification. So I only have one more variety of things to cold stratify, and I have to figure out where I set those seeds. I put them somewhere. Oh, here they are. You know, I don't think I'm gonna start any poppies this year. I think I'm just gonna hold off and we're gonna go with all of these. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different things we're gonna cold stratify. It is very cold in here. So when I start some seeds, I'm going to have to definitely turn the heat mats on. So I'm gonna pop these guys in the fridge. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just stick, I've got one of these little trays here. I'm just gonna stick these in the tray. And I'm gonna make note, because I am taking notes this year, on here, when I started it. So today's date, I'm gonna go ahead and cross off the poppies because I didn't start those. And then I'm gonna put today's date. I'm really excited to have records so I can go back and see when I did everything. So these are gonna go in there. These are what are for starting next when we actually start seeds. I'm gonna go ahead and I put my seeds back. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this just for fun. I'm just gonna take my poppy seeds, put them in there. We'll bring them into the refrigerator and see, maybe I will decide later I wanna start poppies. I'm not sure. I really want to grow things that do well in vases, and I have found I've grown poppies one other time and they didn't have a good vase life. So I'm not as concerned about growing them. So here I've got my Rebecca that I put back in my container. I'm gonna go ahead and get this back in here. I put the other ones back away because technically I don't think I'm gonna need to get those out again as long as these do something. And I do, before I go inside to get dinner going in the crock pot, we got started very, very early this morning, is I have a ton of compost that I had purchased that we're gonna start these seeds with, my Vermont compost. And it's been sitting on my front patio and it needs to come in here. So that's what we're gonna do next. And I need to decide where I'm gonna put it. I need to bring my freeze dryer back in here, so maybe I'm gonna do that first. You know, actually, I think I'm gonna keep my freeze dryer out in the garage. We are gonna replace these floors at some point. So it's been working in the garage. Maybe I'll just leave it in there. And this is where I'll put my soil stuff over here. I think I purchased enough soil to start this year's seeds. I ordered yesterday a hose for right here so I can water everything here. This is going to be my soil station for this year. So I think next week is when we're actually gonna come out and start all those seeds I have on that shelf there. It is easier not to start things too soon and get too excited, because once they're ready to go out, you really wanna be able to put them out in the garden, and if the weather conditions aren't appropriate for them, then it can be hard to try to keep healthy looking seedlings inside for a long time. They just kind of struggle. Once they want to go out, they want to go out. So these are going to go in the refrigerator, and we'll start these. The earliest we would start them is in 3 weeks, but it would be best if they sat in the fridge for at least 4 weeks. So let's get this in the fridge. It's pretty exciting. We have some things happening now for garden season 2024. And I'm gonna get dinner in the crock pot using a lot of what we grew and put up last year so that we can have a really easy dinner. We're gonna make sausage and peppers and onions in the crock pot. So I just have about 1 pound of sausage that I purchased from a local farmer. And I have onions that I diced from last year's garden. Whoop! I did not mean to put that many onions in there. That is a more manageable amount of onions. And then I have peppers from last year's garden. And 1 jar of homemade marinara sauce. This is the absolute best marinara sauce I've ever made. It's made with 100% Roma tomatoes. Did you hear that pop? That's what we want to hear. I'm going to get this over the top. And I'm going to put the lid on this, plug it in, put it on high for probably 6 hours or so. And that is dinner tonight. I'll probably cook up some pasta or something to go along with that. So easy and delicious. I am probably going to put a thing of Boursin cheese. I got it a while ago and it needs to be used up. I was looking at the date and it's coming up. So normally when I make this at the end, I'll put some Parmesan cheese and cream. But I think I'm gonna substitute the Boursin cheese for that because I need to use it up. So this kind of felt like a pantry meal because everything is from the freezer technically. So I have some salad greens in the fridge, so we'll probably just have a simple side salad along with that for dinner tonight. And so that was pretty easy. I'm pretty excited about 2024's garden. Don't forget that Greenstock is having their buy one, get one 60% off sale. So if that is something you've been looking into, that is a fantastic sale to go ahead and get yourself some green stalks so that we can get planting for 2024's garden. And they are super fun, and I have tons and tons of plans for the 4 that I have and for the 2 that are coming. And if you're interested in any of the seed companies that I purchase seeds from, they will be linked down below, so don't forget to check them out. And I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. This is just the beginning of 2024's garden, and I am excited to see what it has in store. Homemade peanut butter from homegrown peanuts, maybe possibly some homegrown wheat, and making our own bread. Sounds pretty intriguing to me, and I'm excited to see if we are able to make that happen. Only time will tell if we are successful. So if you enjoyed this, I'll pop a couple of my other videos here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.